Hi, I'm Clay Allison with Wicked Edge. What I've got in the clamp here is a Benchmade Mini-Griptilian designed by Mel Pardue. It's 154 cm steel, and a customer sent it in wanting to find out what kind of edge he could expect from our 600 grit stones. So I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it up, and we'll send it back to him so he can see what he'll be looking at with just the basic kit and the 600 grit stones that are included in it. One of the things I want to go over is how to position the knife and the clamp and why we use the different tools that are included with the Wicked Edge. So the first tool for positioning the knife and the clamp is called the depth key. It's this little key like this, and it plugs into the clamp on the left side. You'll see, if you zoom in a little bit here, you'll see that there are 4 holes, and that gives us 2 positions, basically a top and a bottom position. And for knives that are from spine to edge measure less than 1 inch, I use the top holes. If they're wider than that, then I use the bottom set of holes. So this is our depth key. Our other tool here is our alignment guide, and that is designed to work in conjunction with the depth key just by plugging in the depth key to the 2 holes in the back of the alignment guide. Then when I plug this into the clamp, it gives me control of how deep the knife is, and also it gives me a place to check the front and back position of the knife. And I'll show you now in a second why that matters. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to put the knife all the way to the front like this and just lightly snug it up with the top screw. And I'll pull this out. Now, a lot of people ask about angle changing and why you might get a wider bevel on the tip of a knife, and there's 2 things really that are going on with it. The first thing is that on a curved blade, the stone, as it comes along the blade of the knife, is constantly rotating on this rod in the curvature, giving it a new plane of contact, which means that the angle is slightly different. If the knife is pushed all the way to the front, it means that the angle out at the front is going to be more acute, which will give you a wider bevel. If the tip of the knife is pushed further back and the curve is closer to the clamp, you'll get a more obtuse angle, and have a smaller bevel. So in theory, if the knife were actually a straight blade like this, extending out even to a mile, the angle change, there wouldn't be any angle change. But because of the curvature and the stones rotating on the rod due to the curvature, you get that slight angle change. So this technique is just going to show us how do we find our position that's optimum for our knife so that we end up with an even bevel all the way along. Okay, the first thing we'll do is just color in the bevel with this Sharpie marker, and I just come straight down on the edge and run the marker along, and that does a pretty nice job of just coloring the bevel itself. And then I just take the stone and I run it along the length of the blade to see where it's tracking. And if we can zoom, we zoomed in nice and tight. So what I want to look at here is I'm observing how the marker has gone up at the edge back towards the back of the knife, but it's still all along the edge down here in the curvature, and it's only removed on the shoulder of the blade. And what that tells me is that the knife is too far forward, and I would end up with a really wide bevel in this position. So what I would do then is put the depth key back in, loosen up the sharpener, and move the knife back. And just look for that optimum position. And in this case, I happen to know it because I experimented a little bit before the start of the video to see what was the right position. So I put the alignment guide on, stick the knife back in the clamp, and align it to the tick mark just past A, which I call A.5. I go ahead and snug up the clamp and then crank it down on the bottom, pull the tools out, and I'll show you how now when I color in the bevel, the stone will take the marker equidistant from the edge all the way down the length. You can see that it's taking all the marker off all the way from the shoulder to the edge. So that gives me a lot of confidence that I'm going to end up with a nice even bevel down the length of the blade. I take that setting, A.5, and I record it along with the depth setting, which is the top set of holes, and my angles, which are 20 degrees, and that tells me that next time I sharpen this knife, all I have to do is put it back in the clamp, top holes, 20 degrees, A.5, and my touch-up will be just a breeze. I'll be starting right where I left off again. So from here it's pretty simple. Just grab my 400 grit stones and just work back and forth from side to side like this. And I can see right away that the marker's gone all the way to the edge. And so my next step is to say, well, if the marker's gone all the way to the edge, I'm pretty sure I've created my bevels the way I need them. So I'm going to just check for the presence of a burr to make sure that beyond just visually I really have reached the edge. So I'll pick on one side for just a minute and do a series of scrubbing strokes like this. And then I'll check to see on the side opposite of what I've been sharpening if there's a burr formed yet. And what I do is I just run my fingernail up the length of the blade like this until I hit the edge and see if it snags. And it's snagging all along here very nicely. So that tells me that I've got the two bevels ground, and I know that this bevel reaches the edge and has a little curl of metal hanging over. So I verify the same thing on the opposite side. Do a few strokes back and forth like this. And then check the opposite side for a burr. And it's very obvious, very pronounced burr. Okay, so now I know that both my bevels meet, and all I have to do is polish the edge. So I'll do a few more strokes with my 400 grit stones. At this point I go back to the alternating strokes, left and right, back and forth. And that should do it. Looking at the edge, it looks very beautiful, nice scratch pattern. Flip the stones over to the 600 grit side and just finish polishing. Okay, and that should be really nice and sharp now. So I'll pop it out of the clamp and we'll have a look. Okay, so this is 600 grit, and it just slashes right through it really nicely. So something to note is that my 600 grit stones have been in use for a long time. I've probably sharpened over 1,200 knives with them. I'm getting ready to take them to Blade Show this week, and I'll sharpen a couple hundred more most likely. And the more I use them, the more I like them. When the stones are brand new out of the box, they're rougher and they won't put quite as much of a polish on here. So you won't be getting an edge quite this level right out of the box. It'll take a little while for your stones to wear, and you just keep getting better and better with every use. So that's a Mel Pardue designed Benchmade Mini-Griptilian done on the Wicked Edge.